Hi, my name is Sandhya Krishnamurthy, and I would like to talk about Couchbase's multidimensional scaling feature today. Before I start doing that, I'm going to define what we mean by scaling. Scaling a system is the ability for you to either add or remove capacity based on your workload profile. A very good example is, let's say you are a retail store, right, online retail store, and you have Black Friday coming up. So during the Black Friday time, you might want to add more capacity to your system because you're going to have a number of users coming in and using your shopping site. And then once the Black Friday event is over, you might want to scale down and just remove that extra capacity because you're not going to need that during normal business times. So scaling is basically the ability for you to be able to either add or remove capacity from a system. Now, there are various ways you can scale a system. About a decade or two before, before we had this concept of massively parallel processing systems or MPP systems, um, if you wanted to scale a system to handle, more data or have, more memory on the system, you would take a single node because most of the database systems used to be single node systems. So you would just add capacity to it, or maybe you'd have to bring the system down, add the capacity, and then start using that single server system again. But with the onset of newer modern systems, we have a lot of data coming in. Almost every device or every system is producing a lot of data, and there are a lot of companies trying to monetize this. MPP systems came into being, which basically meant that you could slap together a lot of servers or nodes and then form one system, right? So one database system could basically have n number of nodes. And whenever you had a increase in the workload, you could just add one more node. And then if you had like a 5-node system during Black Friday, if you added one more node, nothing changes really. Now you would have like a 6-node system. And there would be ways for you to ensure that you have a well-balanced system. So you can actually either manually or you can automate the process of distributing the data. So if you executed a request to get data back, then you know that all of the nodes behind that MPP system are working hard to get that data back for you. Now, with Couchbase, we are an MPP system, but our multidimensional scaling feature is unique, and it is a differentiating feature if you compare us with many other vendors. With us, if you look at the slide in front of me, you see the client and application layer over there with all of the SDKs that you could use to access the system. It's not limited to 4. We do have 10. We do support 10 SDKs. I'm just giving you an example here. And then in the bottom layer, you actually see node 1 through node 11. And then you see the little box over there, which looks like databases, are basically the disk behind those nodes. What is unique about Couchbase is, if you have seen some of the other videos, the way the system works is all of the features that we offer are deployed as services. And we give you a lot of features out of the box on one single cluster. So if we were to scale the system, and if I were to come and tell you that all of the nodes in a system should be equal, and all of the services that you want to deploy should be on all of the nodes, then it gives you very, very limited options to scale it, and then you will actually end up wasting a lot of capacity. Why is that? Because if you look at the data service, it uses the memory and disk, a lot. And if you look at the query service and index service, right? Index service uses disk, but the query service is more about CPU. It's more about being able to, aggregate query and slice and dice and all of that, right? And if you look at analytics, it's actually creating like a shadow copy of the data that's available in data service. And full text search and eventing have their own flavors. So typically when we size a system for you, we keep this in mind. We keep in mind your workload is unique. So when we do come up with a configuration, we make sure that all of these services are sitting on the same cluster, but on different nodes. Maybe some of them are co-located, depending on how often or what sort of SLAs you have. You could have a test system that is having all of these services co-located on the same node, or you could have a production grade system wherein you could have all of these services deployed on dedicated nodes. In this case, you see some of the boxes here, like if you look at the data service boxes, they are a little smaller, and the query service is a little bigger, and the analytics is bigger. By looking at this, I can say that the data that's coming in is not that much, and it's not coming in that often. It's not a KV service load because those nodes are smaller, and then the query service and the other services nodes are slightly bigger, which basically means they are probably beefed up systems with maybe more memory and more cores and stuff like that. So it is possible for you to actually mix and match these different hardware profiles and create one system that suits your workload. This is kind of very, very difficult for you to do with other systems, because in typically an MPP system, you have to ensure that you have to put in your best effort to make sure all of the nodes are equal in configuration. Otherwise, one slow node would actually slow the entire system down, because you're only as fast as your slowest node in an MPP system. This architecture gives you the highest lowest TCO. So, you don't end up you're not forced to buy very, very powerful nodes or, very, very disk heavy nodes for services that are not going to end up using those systems. So that is at the database level. And if you look at the client application side, where you see all the SDKs sitting, with Couchbase, we go one additional step, because all of those SDKs are cluster aware. And what I mean by that is they're all aware of which service is sitting on which node in your system. The first thing they do is they get a cluster map. So if you were to make a query to pick up, say, one customer record, and you did a KV operation, it knows that it has to go to the data service nodes. It knows exactly which node that piece of data is sitting, and it's going to go there and retrieve it. So this makes it a very, very important feature, and a feature that a lot of customers really like, because it gives them the ability to scale the system independently of these services and also provide them the lowest TCO. Thank you.